بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب زدني علما.
Okay, so probably in this section, we'll try to understand the network automation tools, like what are the different network automation tools used and what they are capable of doing, especially for configuration management, and what are the similarities between the different network automation tools. And then later on, we'll try to understand the terminologies used inside the network automation tools, like master and agents, the push and pull models, probably, and then Puppet, Chef, Ansible. These are the different automation tools which can be used in the config management or the network automation here. So let's get started here. So the first thing, we already discussed a little bit more detail about the automation in our previous sections. Like there are plenty of things can be automated where you can do some kind of dynamic provisioning of the devices. You can also do some kind of initial configuration. You can add a new device and add the initial configurations to that, or you can make some changes to the existing initial configurations, or you can do some kind of software upgrades where you can multiple devices can be upgraded simultaneously. You can also schedule that. So these are all the things, options what we have already discussed. This can be done with the help of network automation tools. But the question is, these all tasks will be doing where exactly all this come from. So where exactly we do. Now all these things can be done in two ways. Either this can be done on the controller itself. So probably you can have a controller and that controller can do all these things inside it. That is one option. Or most of the time you'll be using the second option, like most of the time there are some kind of softwares you'll be using, or some kind of software, or we can call them as network config tools or configuration management tools. That's what we call it as. So here we'll be using for network. It can also be used for server. So that's the reason I generally use a common term. In the next slides, we'll be saying configuration management tools. Now these tools can actually work independently without a controller. So maybe they can run independent. You have independent software or the server where exactly this software is running, from where you can do the configuration management. That is again one more option. Or this software can again interact with the controller, and via the controller again you can do the automation tasks. So different organizations or different vendors offer different kinds of solutions. So these softwares can either directly interact with directly they can interact, we can say, or work independently, and where you can push the configurations of those things, or they can go via controller. So mostly in our SDN architecture we'll be using via controller option here. So some of the commonly used network automation tools or the softwares you can see here that are going to assist. Probably these tools will be assisting with SDN controllers. Like here we have Ansible, Chef, Puppet, Salt Stack. These are some of the tools. So probably out of this, Ansible is the newest one, which was introduced around 2012, and then Chef around 2009, and then the Puppet around 2005. Okay, so we'll be getting into individual softwares or individual tools, how they differ, and the options a little bit more in the coming sections. Now, whatever the tools were, these network configuration tools, in short, these tools was introduced initially to automate the servers. Like now, typically these tools was first not introduced for network automations. They are basically introduced to automate your servers. So like how automate the servers based on virtualization concepts. Now what is virtualization? Virtualization is a method where you have one server or one box, and let's say you have a requirement of hosting some services. Like I require 5 web servers I'm going to host, and maybe 2 email servers, and maybe there are some FTP servers I'm hosting. So instead of having, let's say there are total 10 here. So instead of having 10 separate physical servers, what I can do is I can go with one box or one server, and logically we can create something called virtual machine or virtual server, which is going to logically act as one separate physical server. So it does the same job as one physical separate box. So basically, this is the concept of virtualization, and these tools, whatever the tools I discussed, these tools were initially developed to do the virtualization where they can dynamically add or create these virtual machines, or they can also do some kind of provisioning. Provisioning means dynamically they can make this virtual machine to come up with a set of pre-configured settings, and also they can be dynamically removed when you no longer need that particular VM to be a part of the network. So that can be automated. So initially these tools was introduced to virtualize the servers. Now later on, to add more flexibility to these tools, now these tools are also used to automate your network as well. Now here also, what we'll be doing is we'll be using the same tools. Probably apart from automation of your virtual servers or the server virtualization, we can also use these tools for our network automation task as well. Okay, so these tools are good enough for both the server virtualization as well as for your network virtualization options.